Chapter 946, Common Enemies. Song Guanghui's eyes glinted in the dark. He had been concealing his identity in Saipan for 20 years and had severed nearly all contact with anyone he knew of in mainland China. He knew very few people who still remembered his real name, Song Guanghui. Who is this young man, and how does he know my real name? Shooting a deep look at Tang Xiu, he said, "Young man, are you not mistaking me with someone else? I'm indeed a senior official here in Saipan, you can call me Sun Hui." "What's your name?" "I'm surnamed Tang," answered Tang Xiu with a smile. "Family name of Tang?" Song Guanghui pondered for a short while. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat and his hands trembled. He rushed to grab the door's handle and, while trying hard to restrain his emotions, he intentionally let out a relaxed smile and said, "I have a good impression of China as I once had a friend surnamed Tang there." "So, what situation are you in right now, exactly?" "We're currently heading over to the Lao Bei Resort, but found that the road is blocked," said Tang Xiu with a smile. "Uncle Song, could you help me by having these lawmen let us pass through?" Eyes squinted, Song Guanghui carefully observed Tang Xiu before he shifted his sight to the policeman and said, "These people and I have met through fate. Make an exception and let them pass." "Yes, yes, yes." The police officers nodded hurriedly and complied. Song Guanghui then closed the window, though his eyes were still trained on Tang Xiu. As the SUV began to move, he ordered, "Stop 2 kilometers ahead and wait for that taxi behind." "Understood." Several minutes later, the taxi zoomed along and Spectre, who still sat in the front seat, reported in a low voice, "Boss, those SUVs we just met are now parked in front of us. Stop and park the car ahead." The cab driver turned to look at Tang Xiu with a curious look. But he still nodded and drove the car over to there. As Tang Xiu got out from the car, a middle-aged man came over and spoke to him, "Mr. Tang, the general wants to see you." "General?" Nodding in response without speaking, Tang Xiu then headed over to the nearby beach where Song Guanghui was standing at. "Uncle Song." Song Guanghui turned around and scrutinized Tang Xiu yet again. Then he silently nodded and said, "I guesstimate that you've already found out my real identity. However, those who still know of my real identity in this world amounts to less than 5 people. Including a man surnamed Tang, who's your life and death brother?" asked Tang Xiu with a smile. "Yes. A friend in life and death and a sworn brother," answered Song Guanghui with a heavy voice. "Uncle Song, my father is Tang Yunda, and I've seen Uncle Qiananhu in Macau recently." Tang Xiu smiled and said, "I'm sure you know both of them." "What did you say?" Song Guanghui trembled and hurriedly said, "Big brother Yunda is still alive? Where's he now and, are you really his son?" "My dad hasn't contacted you yet?" asked Tang Xiu, confused. "No," Song Guanghui shook his head. "No way," exclaimed Tang Xiu, "it's been half a year after Dad woke up, so he should have contacted you, properly speaking." "How can he?" "I understand," interjected Song Guanghui after being silent for a while. There was, however, a bitter smile on his face. "What do you understand?" asked Tang Xiu. "Your old man should have told you that we 3 brothers have very powerful enemies," said Song Guanghui. "It must be the reason why he hasn't contacted me yet. I presume that he doesn't want to expose my identity. Dad did say that you all have a very powerful enemy. So much so that Uncle Chan and you had to change your name for the sake of safety, as well as causing you to be unwilling to return to the mainland. Instead of coming home, you both respectively stayed in Macau and Saipan to develop your forces," said Tang Xiu. "My dad was found by the enemy about 21 years ago, which was probably caused by some factors that attracted their attention." "What exactly happened to your old man 21 years ago, Tang Xiu?" asked Song Guanghui rapidly. "I used to keep in touch with your father previously, but I couldn't contact him all of a sudden one day. I've been to China dozens of times since then in an attempt to find his trace. Yet, every time I go there with hope, I always return with disappointment. Dad was severely injured and went vegetative. My family elders in Beijing then found and received me from Star City, answered Tang Xiu. In actuality, I never once saw my dad ever since I was born before I met him recently. I used to think that he was just a man who abandoned his wife and children. Only last year did I finally learn the whole truth, that he had actually been in a comatose state in Beijing for years. Since I have some medical skills, I rescued him from that state a little more than 6 months ago. Turning vegetative and in a coma for more than 20 years? Song Guanghui shivered and tears appeared in his eyes. He and Tang Yunda were life and death brothers. They were compatriots, comrades who had blocked hails of bullets for each other. He had no relatives when he enlisted into the army as an orphan, making his comrades in his platoon become closer than family to him since. After years of duty and missions, they became brothers who had gone through thick and thin together for years. In that battle, however, only the 3 brothers remained, scarred and wounded. The 3 of them stripped off their military uniforms to infiltrate the enemy's base camp. There, they conducted sneak attacks and assassinations for several months, killing dozens of enemies before escaping under intense pursuit. The scenes of the past kept appearing in his mind as he recollected all those memories. The episodes of his life and death struggles, those brothers, the rain of blood that was shed by his brothers as they braved the hail of bullets, all of which was vividly being replayed again in his head. Uncle Song, Dad told me that he only has very few brothers left. Tang Xiu spoke again, excluding those in the Tang family. There are only 2 others left, Uncle Chan and you. I presume that your guess is correct, that the reason my dad hasn't yet contacted you these past 6 months is that he doesn't want to bring any dangers to you. I presume he and Uncle Chun must still remember the hatreds of the past since they are currently training experts and developing their forces. Song Guanghui tightly clenched his fists, while blazing killing intent shrouded in his eyes as he replied with a deep and heavy voice. He's right. The hatred of the past is too deep of a debt of blood and must be paid off. The lives of so many brothers of ours are something that can never be ignored. I have a recurring nightmare that has haunted me all these years, waking me up in tears with a drenched pillow. Those damned bastards will have to pay a terrible price sooner or later. Tang Xiu, give me your father's number. I've been secretly training a lot of experts here while I've been in control of the Saipan garrison myself. I've also been supporting some mercenary companies in Africa, so I need his number to exact our revenge together. Tang Xiu gave his father's cell number to him and said, Uncle Song, we'll never give up on this hatred from the past. But give me some time. I promise that half a year later at most, I'll become your sharp blade that will mercilessly exterminate all of your enemies. Song Guanghui patted Tang Xiu's shoulder in response and happily said, Brother Yunda truly gave birth to a good son. All right, let's head off to my house. I'll introduce you to my 2 boys. There's an urgent matter I need to tend to first, Uncle Song. So I must set sail early in the morning. Tang Xiu hesitated and said, how about I visit later after I'm done with everything? You're going out to sea? Song Guanghui was confused and asked, what matter are you dealing with, exactly? About this, Tang Xiu hesitated again. He was unsure whether he should tell Song Guanghui about 9 Dragons Island. Song Guanghui furrowed his brows and said in a deep voice, Tang Xiu, I really wish that you can regard me as your relative since I and your old man are sworn brothers in life and death. You're his son, meaning that you're my nephew. I can't say that I'm a very powerful man, but there's nothing I cannot do in Saipan. I'm really happy hearing it straight from you, Uncle Song. But to be honest it's not too important of an issue, so dealing with it won't require your assistance at all. I can deal with it myself, said Tang Xiu. If anything, it's regarding an island I bought last year. On it, I have a construction project going on to rebuild it. There was an accident recently, so I must hurry to get there. An island? Song Guanghui zoned out and his complexion suddenly changed as he asked with a deep voice, Are you talking about Nine Dragons Island?
Yeah.
It's exactly that Nine Dragons Island, answered Tang Xiu. That means, you know Tom Reggie? Asked Song Guanghui. From the men I sent to investigate it, there are 2 people in charge of Nine Dragons Island's construction project, one of which is Long Zhengyu from Star City's Long Group, while the other is Tom Reggie. Tom Reggie is a close friend of one of my men, said Tang Xiu. However, judging from your attitude, then the relationship between you and Tom Reggie. Tom Reggie is the right hand of my political opponent here and has been at odds with me for years, said Song Guanghui, especially recently, as he has been recruiting many experts. He has even taken over several of my industries. I would have completely had Saipan under my control if not for this guy. Tang Xiu squinted his eyes and suddenly asked, May I ask whether you have some time to spare now, Uncle Song?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Asked Song Guanghui. Come with me to see Tom Reggie if you have the time, said Tang Xiu. I assure you that he'll never be at odds with you again from today henceforth. There's no need to boast like that, Tang Xiu. Song Guanghui shook his head. I'm perfectly aware of the nature of this fella because I'm his enemy. He's very loyal to my political adversary. The very reason why he can paint anything black or white in Saipan is all because of Tom Reggie. You'll know soon whether or not I can achieve what I say if you come with me, Uncle Song, said Tang Xiu confidently. All right, I'll give him a call now. Song Guanghui raised his hand and was about to stop Tang Xiu when he recalled something all of a sudden, causing him to give up on preventing Tang Xiu from making the call. 4 a.m. at the gate of the Lao Bay Resort. Tom Reggie took his 2 confidants to wait here while he quietly watched the distant road under the surprised gaze of the dozen security guards on duty. When will Mr. Tang arrive, boss? A stalwart strongman asked with expectation and eagerness. Just be patient and tell the others to wait. He should be here soon, replied Tom Reggie. That's right, what about the accommodation I told you to prepare? Are you done arranging everything? Everything's been prepared, boss, the middle-aged man respectfully replied. Suddenly, his expression changed as he pointed to the taxi and 3 SUVs coming over, saying, Boss, that should be Mr. Tang. But something is strange. Why are those 3 SUVs heading here too? And the license plate of those cars? Tom Reggie also knew the license plates of those 3 SUVs and his complexion changed. Sen Hui. How come Tang Xiu is arriving with him? Chapter 947, How is this possible? As a man who could literally do anything he wanted in Saipan, Tom Reggie was definitely someone with a brain. He was absolutely a shrewd man of a sophisticated mind and formidable nature, with a set of skills to boot. Even after he got acquainted with Tang Xiu, he inquired about the news regarding this young man and learned that Tang Xiu was a very formidable character, much more powerful than anyone he ever knew. He regarded this young man as his friend, and yet, how could he get along with his enemy? Even from the looks of their interaction, they seemed to be very close. Mr. Tang. While suppressing the restlessness and confusion inwardly, Tom Reggie strode to greet and hug Tang Xiu, only sparing a glance at Song Guanghui. There's no need for me to introduce you to this man, right, Tom, said Tang Xiu with a faint smile. You're always in Saipan, to begin with, so I'm sure you both know each other. With a bit of a strange expression, Tom Reggie nodded, General Sen Hui, the number 2 figure in Saipan. I never thought that he would come to my resort. More so that he tagged along with you, Mr. Tang. He's anything but an outsider, Tom, he has a very deep relation with me. Tang Xiu waved and said, I can tell you that he's my elder, someone on my side in the truest sense. I already know about what kind of relationship exists between you both, so don't give him that hostile look. All right, how about you find some peaceful place so that we can have a chat? No can do. Tom Reggie shook his head and said, there are tons of things I'd like to chat with you about, Mr. Tang, but there's nothing I want to say to him. I'm Mr. Dawes's man. Nothing good will happen if he hears the news that I was in contact with this man late at night. I hope you can understand. Seeing Tom Reggie's manner, Song Guanghui's appraisal toward Tang Xiu dropped a few degrees. He first thought that Tang Xiu was a talented young man, as great as his father used to be. He didn't expect his mind to be so simple, wanting him to get in touch and tied to Tom Reggie. Only after recalling the face of Tang Yunda, his life and death sworn brother, was he barely able to repress his dissatisfaction, allowing him to calmly wait for Tang Xiu's next move. Tom, I already told you that I understand the problems between you two, said Tang Xiu. I have my purpose and a reason to discuss it with you. You can trust me that I won't harm you at all. After slightly hesitating, Tom Reggie still shook his head. You're On's boss, Mr. Tang. You're also a friend and my business partner, so I naturally trust you. But this man is not someone I can trust, so I can't comply. Spectre, who was wearing a black cap, paced forward and mocked, Humph. Nobody in this world is allowed to refuse my boss's request. Let alone you, rookie. You have two options now. Number 1, immediately prepare a place to chat with my boss. Number 2, I'll kill you now and support your confidant to replace your place. Pray tell why I shouldn't waste my strength doing so, rookie. Being unable to see Spectre's face, Tom Reggie was quite angry. Who the fuck are you to interrupt our talk? I'm talking to your boss, not you. Spectre slowly raised his cap. When his entire face appeared in Tom Reggie's sight, he looked at the latter's paled face and grimly sneered. If it weren't because your heart's location is different compared to normal people, you wouldn't be qualified to stand here and talk to my boss now, would you? The big shock made Tom Reggie pace backwards a few steps. He pointed to Spectre and exclaimed in fright, why are you here? Aren't you? A word more and I'll kill you, cut Spectre with a chilling snort. Tom Reggie looked like he ran into his most formidable, unbeatable nemesis. With frightened eyes and a pounding heart, extreme restlessness now engulfed his entire being. Although he used to be a killer who had executed countless people, there were still some people in this world who truly caused him dread. Spectre was exactly one of them. Without him realizing, he raised his hand to touch the location of his heart. There was a scar near there, and the very person who gifted it to him was Spectre, now sitting right before his eyes. Tang Xiu creased his brows and asked in surprise, You know him? He was once an underling of my target, boss, and quite a competent one, I admit, explained Spectre with a grin while licking his lips. Though it's rather unfortunate that he's nothing but trash in my eyes. I didn't attempt to find and kill him again even after I knew that he was still alive. After all, he wasn't originally my target back then. Didn't you tell me that only a scant number of people in the world can recognize you? Tang Xiu frowned and said, While you have been out with me, how come so many people have recognized you, huh? I promise you there won't be a third person, boss, said Spectre in a hurry. Tang Xiu just coldly snorted at him before he looked at Tom Reggie again and said, I don't want to repeat what I said for the third time. He's my elder and truly someone of my own. It's fine if you still refuse, but do consider what consequences will you have to face later. Because the enemy you're going to face would probably be me. Throat feeling dry, Tom Reggie shifted his eyes from Spectre to Tang Xiu and astringently nodded, I'll arrange it right away. But, could you tell me how he became your man? I can't think it through at all. What is it that you can't understand? Asked Tang Xiu. I just can't figure out as to why such a dreadful man like him would be willing to be your man, said Tom Reggie. He's an entirely different kind of breed than An. Do you really know and understand who I truly am? Asked Tang Xiu with a faint smile. The question made Tom Reggie stunned. He understood what Tang Xiu meant, causing his fear of Tang Xiu to turn more intense than ever before. He took a deep breath and then glanced towards Song Guanghui, saying, Please come inside, everyone. With an expression turned very strange at this instant, Song Guanghui truly didn't expect that the twist of events would be reversed just like this. It only took one of Tang Xiu's men to stand up and speak some vague words, yet Tom Reggie was stricken and panicked, reversing his previous attitude. Who is Tang Xiu's man, exactly? Full of confusion, Song Guanghui followed Tang Xiu and the rest to the already prepared villa. In the living room on the second floor, Tang Xiu gently patted Zhang Xinya's shoulder and said, "You go to the room to rest first. We need to discuss something here. Take your time to rest since we'll be going out to sea early in the morning." Zhang Xinya herself didn't know too much about Tang Xiu's affairs, so she understandingly nodded as she went straight towards the stairs to the bedroom on the third floor to rest. Tang Xiu took a seat on the sofa in the living room as he looked at Tom Reggie and said, "If I told you to change allegiances and switch to Uncle Song's camp, would you agree?" "Huh? Who's Uncle Song?" asked Tom Reggie, confused. "His real name is Song Guanghui, a life-and-death sworn brother of my old man." Tang Xiu pointed to Song Guanghui and explained. "That's why I told you that he's truly someone from my circle in the truest sense." Eyes with incredulity and shock, Tom Reggie stared at Song Guanghui. Even in his wildest dreams, he never thought that Sun Hui would have another name. It was even highly likely that he had some other identities. Tang Xiu didn't lie. "My real name is Song Guanghui, and I was once an elite commando for the special forces in China," narrated Song Guanghui in a deep voice. "Later on, a certain accident happened, and I deserted the army. Then, I came to Saipan and have been living here under a new name while climbing the ladder to arrive at my current position now." Tom Reggie instantly understood why Tang Xiu said that he had very deep relations with Sun Hui. They were both Chinese, and Sun Hui was even a sworn brother to Tang Xiu's father. "Tom, there's something I must say, though I think you should already know it," said Tang Xiu. "The force under my control is very formidable, while what you know about me is just the tip of the iceberg. So now, I'm going to give you a chance. Be my subordinate." With a changed complexion, Tom Reggie glanced at Spectre standing beside Tang Xiu and asked with a sour face, "Do I have the right to refuse?" "No, you don't." Tang Xiu shook his head. "It's because any connection between me and Uncle Song must be strictly kept confidential for the time being, as well as the issue of Spectre becoming my man. A proper saying for the current situation is that the more you know, the more dangerous the situation will be. You now know something about me, so you only have two choices to avoid trouble." Two choices? Tom Reggie was perfectly aware of what the two choices would be. The first one would be to submit to Tang Xiu and become his subordinate, resulting in him keeping his life, while the second would be him to be killed right here and now for refusing. He didn't believe that he had what it took to escape if he refused. Aside from Tang Xiu, who was a very powerful man himself, just Spectre alone was someone he wouldn't be able to face. What should I do? Is submitting to Tang Xiu the only choice I have? Looking at the uncertain and gloomy expression on Tom Reggie's face, Tang Xiu indifferently said, "You can rest assured that your wealth will still be yours even if you choose to submit to me. I won't give you too many orders either, and even will give you rewards the more you accomplish things for me. I remember that I once told you that maybe you'll be as strong as An someday." Tom Reggie seemed to be moved and asked, "You're going to teach me Chinese Kung Fu?" "What Chinese Kung Fu?" Tang Xiu shook his head. "What I can teach you is something different entirely, something that is beyond your imagination. Of course, the situation you'll face will also become more dangerous once you become very formidable. It is highly likely that the enemies you'll face will no longer be ordinary humans." "Not humans? What are they?" "Are they the likes of those fierce beasts in the sea?" asked Tom Reggie with a confused face. "Those fierce ocean beasts are indeed very strong, but the enemies you'll face in the future may be much stronger than they are," sneered Tang Xiu. "Let me give you a comparison. You also know the likes of vampires, as well as demi-humans including the beastmen, wingmen, sorcerers, and wizards from the Western world, no?" Stricken with shock, Tom Reggie asked, "You mean, I have a chance to be as powerful as those terrifying monsters and even will have them as my enemies? You think these vampires, beastmen, wingmen, and wizards are powerful? Humph. Tang Xiao let out a contemptuous snort and said, you prove your loyalty to me, and you'll have the power to smash them in the future. But the enemies I'm telling you about are a much more powerful existence than them. Tom Reggie was dumbfounded. He never imagined that Tang Xiao could actually say such a claim. It was like Tang Xiao presented a window in front of him. Now, he was waiting for him to reach his hand out to open it and see the magical and mystical world beyond. Chapter 948, Beyond Logic Technique. At this moment, Tom Reggie wasn't the only one shocked, as even Song Guanghui, who took a seat on the next sofa, was now looking at Tang Xiao with a dumbfounded, incredulous expression. As someone whose position was at the top of the pyramid, Song Guanghui naturally knew many things beyond what was known to the average person. He knew that terrifyingly powerful divergent races such as vampires and beastmen truly existed on Earth, as well as those the likes of wizards and reclusive figures and experts who stayed under the radar. Back in the day, he and his brothers had also faced these kinds of existences. And yet, why would Tang Xiao dare to promise Tom Reggie that he would become as powerful as these terrifying things? Is he talking nonsense, or is he telling the truth? Tang Xiao. Song Guanghui called out, but Tang Xiao raised his hand and interrupted him to finish his words. Tang Xiao shot an intense look at Tom Reggie and continued speaking with a deep voice. You must understand that you won't become my confidant even if you choose to submit. But I can guarantee that your strength will greatly improve, and your lifespan will even be several times longer. What do you mean a longer lifespan? Asked Tom Reggie. For instance, if you can normally live to 100 years old and choose to submit to me, I will not only make you stronger, but even stronger than the current Spectre. You can live for 200, 300, or 400 years more. Don't doubt me about it. You clearly know my character, and I never talk big, nor have I talked about any nonsensical things. That's impossible. Absolutely impossible. Tom Reggie shook his head and said, how can humans live to 200 to 300 years old? How long do you think those vampires live? Sneered Tang Xiao. Tom Reggie was rendered speechless and dumbfounded. He knew that vampires lived for thousands for years, while the most terrifying ones even lived more than that. Yet, can human beings really live that long? Suddenly, with slight impatience in his voice, Tang Xiao said, I need your answer now. Be it your acceptance or refusal, I want it now. Tang. Boss, do you think any option to refuse still remains? Asked Tom Reggie with a hollow smile. Since you don't refuse, it's settled then. Tang Xiao nodded in satisfaction. You're my man starting today. And I'll send someone to teach you a cultivation technique once I'm done dealing with the problem in Nine Dragons Island. I give you my word that your combat prowess will increase several folds in just 3 years. Tom Reggie nodded without any words. He had already chosen to submit to Tang Xiao, so all the ideas he had in mind changed as well. He thought that becoming Tang Xiao's subordinate was not shameful since even the terrifying world's first assassin, Spectre, had become Tang Xiao's underling as well. There's another thing I want you to remember, Tom, warned Tang Xiao. I want you to maintain absolute respect in front of Uncle Song. Also, should there be any conflicts between him and your former backer, you must stand on his side. You're also to obey all his commands even when I'm not in Saipan. Tom Reggie shot a look at Song Guanghui first before nodding and complying. I'll follow your order. Song Guanghui squinted and slowly spoke. I'm very glad to have you join us, Tom. I do. But I can tell that you're not that willing to submit to Tang Xiao, so I warn you now to stick to your word. You already promised him, so if you don't follow through, I'll get rid of you with everything I have even if I have to break the agreement with Dawes. Tom Reggie didn't flinch at all and bluntly said, even An and Spectre have already submitted to Mr. Tang. It shows that Mr. Tang's power is much more terrible than I ever imagined. I'm a bit reluctant, that I admit. But since I've made my choice, you can be sure that I'll take my place appropriately. You are not that willing to submit, eh? Asked Tang Xiu with a mischievous smile. I am, replied Tom Reggie without trying to conceal it. Tang Xiu's figure flashed like a shadow and instantly disappeared from the sofa. In just a millisecond, he was already standing in front of Tom Reggie. He pulled him up from the sofa and directly stuffed a pill into his mouth as he shouted aloud, "Relax your body and sense the flow of energy inside your system. Endure the pain. Even if you feel like your body is being sheared, endure it and try your best to sense the energy." With that said, a torrent of primal chaos energy crazily rushed into Tom Reggie's body and began to circulate according to a nascent soul cultivation technique route. Damn, it's painful. Tom Reggie screamed as his body violently shivered. Tang Xiu ignored him and just controlled his primal chaos energy to circulate faster and open up the clogged acupoints and meridians. After breaking through his meridians, he quickly repaired and nourished them. In just 10 minutes, Tang Xiu had broken through 36 of the blocked acupoints in his body and circulated the energy according to the small heavenly circuit foundation of the cultivation technique and completed the openings to form a full circulation cycle. Something stinky came out? Everyone inside the living room could smell the putrid stench from Tom Reggie's body. Tang Xiu released the man's body and then threw him on the sofa. He watched him pant and gasp for breath, with the clothes on his body drenched in his own sweat. He threw him a smile and said, "Go have a bath in the bathroom downstairs. Tell one of your men to send you a new set of clothes. You have half an hour, I'll be waiting for you here." While trembling, Tom Reggie replied with a slightly hoarse and shivering voice, "I have no strength. It's so damn painful, like having my flesh being sheared by knives. Trust me. You'll no longer feel that pain again in a few minutes. It will instead be replaced by a very comfy feeling, like you're in seventh heaven." Tang Xiu let out a faint smile and said, "All right, go. I don't have much time and can't afford to delay more. I want you to appear in front of me half an hour from now." "God damn it, bastard." Tom Reggie cursed inwardly and struggled to prop himself up as he straggled to the stairs, moving down step by step. Song Guanghui, who had been paying full attention to Tang Xiu's actions and Tom Reggie, asked with a surprised expression on his face after Tom Reggie disappeared down the staircase, "What did you just do, Tang Xiu?" "Well, I just helped him open up some of his meridians while also improving his strength at the same time," said Tang Xiu with a smile. "He has submitted to me, but he's a bit reluctant, so after he tastes the sweetness of his choice and becomes stronger, his heart will completely give in. Anyway, Uncle Song, Tom Reggie is my gift to you for our first meeting. I hope it's to your liking." Song Guanghui fell into silence for a short while. Then, he suddenly said, "I need to contact your old man." Tang Xiu extended his hand which was holding his handset and smilingly said, "I already sent you my dad's number, so you can call him at any time." Song Guanghui thanked him and got up, gave orders to his men, and then walked into an empty room next door. After half an hour, he came out of the room with eyes now full of tenderness when he looked at Tang Xiu. There was also unconcealed excitement on his face. "Have you finished talking to my dad, Uncle Song?" asked Tang Xiu with a smile.
Yeah.
Song Guanghui heavily nodded and said, "I learned quite a lot about you from your old man, Tang Xiu. You're really great, amazing. I just learned that the magnificent Tang Corporation actually was founded by you, even without the support of the Tang family. But one thing that I never imagined is that you're also a cultivator, as are a lot of your men." "Ah, it seems Dad really trusts you given that he even told you about it," said Tang Xiu smilingly. "Whether it's the present or 2 decades ago, we're brothers, life and death sworn brothers," said Song Guanghui straightforwardly. "Be it 20 years later, we'll still keep off bullets and are willing to die for each other." Tang Xiu raised his thumbs up and praised, "I truly admire that pure brotherhood you've shown me, Uncle Song. So, what do you think about the gift I gave you?" "It's great, I like it." Song Guanghui spiritedly replied, Tom Reggie is Dawes's right-hand man, an enemy I used to face with prudence and importance. But now he has become one of my men. I can tell that dealing with Dawes will be much easier with him. It is said that you're the number 2 figure in Saipan, right, Uncle Song? Asked Tang Xiu with a smile. Do you want to be the definitive boss here? I can help you achieve it easily if you wish. Can you do it? Asked Song Guanghui hurriedly. It's easy to forge a car accident that will claim the number 1 man's life, don't you think? Said Tang Xiu with a faint smile. Or, you can tell Spectre about it. It's easy for him to get the job done. Sparing a glance at Spectre with a confused face, Song Guanghui said, his real identity is. I won't hide it from you, Uncle Song. He's Spectre, the best assassin in the world. Tang Xiu said, you're someone with high position and authority, so you should know a lot of things. Don't tell me you haven't heard of his name? Spectre? As in, Spectre the number 1 hitman in the world? Song Guanghui's pupils shrunk and his face turned pale. He heard Spectre name from Tom Reggie previously. He only felt that the man sent out a chilling sensation, yet it never came to his mind to relate him to that dreadful assassin. How would he not know of the existence of Spectre? This fellow was a notoriously dreadful existence to countless great personages all over the world. Even he himself was afraid that this notorious hitman would someday cut his head off while he was sleeping. And yet, this guy, how could he become Tang Xiu's man? How come such a monster like Spectre would submit to others and become someone's henchman? All of a sudden, Song Guanghui recalled what his sworn brother just told him on the phone about his son. He felt that Tang Xiu's father knew too little about his own son. Awesome. Just as Song Guanghui was still shocked, Tom Reggie ran up the stairs with a flushed, yet intense, excited face. He dashed to Tang Xiu's front and said aloud, Tang. Boss, how exactly did you do it? I can feel I've become much stronger than I used to be, at least twice of my former strength. Also, my body feels so healthy and comfortable, comfier than any massage I've ever had.
Yeah.
My strength is 2 times greater. I can feel that I'm at least 2 times stronger than I used to be. Your strength absolutely won't be just twice greater than before after you've truly familiarized yourself with it, said Tang Xiu smile. Do you believe me now that I have the ability to make you stronger? Sure hell I do, exclaimed Tom Reggie excitedly. Chapter 949, Heavy Casualties. Watching how excited Tom Reggie was made Song Guanghui's expression turn strange, yet a billowing tide surged inside his heart. He didn't understand what Tang Xiu did to this man previously, but after he learned of Tang Xiu's real identity from Tang Yunda, only then did he come to a realization that Tang Xiu's actions were like those scenes in martial arts movies when some experts imparted their abilities to others, causing the cultivation of the imparted person to improve by leaps and bounds in a short period of time. Are you really sure you got stronger, Tom? Absolutely. Tom Reggie heavily nodded and said, I tested it right after I took a shower. The max weight I used to able to lift was 100 kilograms, but now I can lift or move a 200 kilograms object. This made Song Guanghui shocked, and the way he looked at Tang Xiu was entirely different than before. What Tang Xiu did to create an expert in just 10 minutes was simply like a scene in a movie. It also proved that he was truly powerful. In the case, that if Tang Xiu could help him open the passages of his meridians, could he also have the strength to move several 100-kilogram objects? Eagerness and enthusiasm were boundless in Song Guanghui's eyes as he looked at Tang Xiu and asked, Tang Xiu, I've always been a soldier myself, and I always revered combat prowess and strength ever since I was small. Even though I've left the army for more than 2 decades, I never neglected my kung fu, and even hired grandmaster-level martial artists to teach me martial arts. Tang Xiu immediately understood what Song Guanghui wanted, but this kind of steroid-like cultivation enhancement was never a good thing. For instance, Tom Reggie. His power indeed progressed rapidly now, yet he'd have a shaky foundation that would make his achievements limited and progress to be more difficult. Even if he were to consume massive cultivation resources, he would hardly be able to reach the golden core stage, while reaching the nascent soul stage was nothing but a dream. Please don't be in a rush, Uncle Song. Tang Xiu waved and said, I just helped Tom to upgrade his strength, which made me consume quite a lot of energy. Besides, I've been traveling all day today and I still must leave for Nine Dragons Island soon. The urgent issue there is quite tricky to deal with, so let us talk about helping you later. Song Guanghui was silent for a while. Then he slowly nodded and said, all right, we'll see to it later since you say so. Anyways, do you want me to send you there with a special plane? Tang Xiu seemed moved but he shook head and said, there's no need, uncle. I already contacted my men on the island. A chopper will come to fetch me. All right, then. Song Guanghui then got off the couch and said, also, I already gave you my number, so just call me anytime whenever you have anything that needs my help. I won't come with you to Nine Dragons Island, though. Just remember to contact me once you come back and visit my home. Will do, replied Tang Xiu. Soon after, Tang Xiu and Tom Reggie walked Song Guanghui outside. At this moment, as the dim dawn of the sun came rising from the east, the helicopter from Nine Dragons Island arrived. After it landed on the helipad of Lao Bay Resort, Tang Xiu led Zhang Xingya, Spectre, Gu Tao, and Zhang Ju to board the helicopter. Right at this time, however, Tang Xiu received a call from Mo that his team also had arrived in Saipan and were now on the way to Lao Bay Resort. Tom, lend me one of your resort's choppers. O's team has arrived here too and will leave for Nine Dragons Island together. With a changed expression, Tom Reggie replied, copy that. The chopper is ready to take off at a moment's notice. But how many people are there in O's team? There should be 4 of them, answered Tang Xiu. Only 4? Then I'm coming there too, said Tom Reggie hurriedly. Long Zhangyu called me before about it, so I'm going to go there to take a look at the situation as well. All right, let's go together then. Tang Xiu nodded and added. But don't take too many people with you. Roger that. At 8 in the morning, the 2 helicopters arrived at Nine Dragons Island. After they landed on the helipad, Mo and Long Zhangyu ran over along with 4 other men. Tell me the current situation. Tang Xiu had just seen the reconstruction work on Nine Dragons Island from above. After extensive renovations, the plan had been finished and the building complexes had now been built in clusters in different areas, whereas the greeneries on the island had also been improved. Series of intricate roads and pathways had been built in all directions, connecting the buildings all over the island. Aside from that, the 9 extended slopes were still unchanged and were now surrounded by guardrails. The areas apparently became restricted spots on the island. All cargo ships, yachts, liners, and other vessels were orderly moored at the 2 re-established ports with a large number of armed personnel guarding them. There were even several newly built lighthouses and water beacons. We have investigated the identity of those 6 teenagers, boss, reported Mo in a deep voice. They're all Singaporean Chinese and members of an ancient and mysterious sect which fled China around 50 years ago, and re-established itself in Singapore. Those 2 old geezers, however, are very hostile to us. Although they temporarily gave up their intention to destroy the buildings on the island, they still are occupying the hilltop and refuse to leave. Any other specific information about this ancient sect, like its name, asked Tang Xiu. Haven't asked them about that, those 6 young men are reluctant to say more. Mo An shook his head and said, they seem to be afraid of us, I think. Although we have provided them all with accommodations, they didn't even try them and instead just used the rations they brought with them. Tang Xiu nodded in response. As he came to the stone bridge, he took a seat in the car that came to transport him. As the car turned and went towards the palace, he asked again, how about our casualties? 2 men killed, 6 severely injured, and more than a dozen with minor injuries, answered Mo An. Wolfhead is also seriously injured and is now recuperating in the palace. The news made Tang Xiu's eyes gleam with frosty light. He looked through the windows to the outside at one person and suddenly said, "She's Zhang Xingya, my woman." "Madam." Mo An's mind shifted and he hurriedly called out. Zhang Xingya already knew that Tang Xiu had bought this 9-dragon island. Yet, she was still shocked by the scene she saw here since she realized that the budget needed to fully finish such a construction project, for the whole island would be stratospherically high. More so that there were not only many ships of various types, but also a lot of airplanes. This place simply looked like a private armed base. Additionally, she didn't expect that the island would also have a majestic palace aside from other various buildings. She even found that many men armed to the teeth were stationed near the stone bridge. "Hello there." The address Mo An just used to call her made Zhang Xingya happy, so she smilingly replied with a nod. "Xingya, An and Ah are brothers. This island is ours, so you can regard this place like your own home in the future," said Tang Xiu. "It's too big for a home, you know. It's like a garden city and stunningly beautiful." Zhang Xingya chuckled. "Relax. This place is my private territory and not under the jurisdiction of any country," said Tang Xiu with a smile. "You just need to remember that you're the lady of the house here." "Alrighty." Zhang Xingya nodded firmly. Soon after, the convoy arrived at the gate of the palace. While still in the car, Tang Xiu saw Mu Qingping standing while holding Gu Yin's hand at the entrance. They obviously had been waiting for a long time. "Yin dear." After he got out of the car, he walked toward Mu Qingping and Gu Yin while opening his arms. With melodious laughter, Gu Yin moved like a graceful dancing butterfly as she plunged herself into Tang Xiu's embrace and kissed him on the cheek, excitedly saying, "It's been half a year since Yin last saw you, Master. I missed so you much." "Master missed you so much too, Yin." Tang Xiu smiled and said, "So, how have you been here? Happy and getting used to being here?"
Yeah.
Yin already has gotten used to this place. "I love this island," answered Yin with a smile. "That's great." Tang Xiu smilingly said, "Have you been well too, Sis Mu?" "Everything's been great, Mr. Tang," replied Mu Qingping with a nod and a beaming face. "There's nothing much to do with An and the rest of the men here." Tang Xiu nodded in response and then introduced Zhang Xingya to Mu Qingping. Then he said, "Sis Mu, please take Xingya and settle her first. An and I will tend to some things first. I'll arrange everything for Miss Zhang, Mr. Tang. But please do pay attention to your safety," said Mu Qingping hurriedly. "Those people who just landed on the island are very powerful." "No worries," Tang Xiu said, "they are not people that I need to pay precaution to." A short while after, Tang Xiu looked around and said, "An, send someone to bring those 6 little guys to the place where those 2 geezers are. In the meantime, we're going ahead to see the situation first. I want to see how good their abilities are since they've dared to come to my 9 Dragons Island to make trouble." Mo An complied and waved to his men to carry out the order before taking Tang Xiu into the car. More than a dozen cars then quickly moved further inland on the island. 10 minutes later, the convoy stopped in front of a building halfway up the hilltop. "The car can only travel up to here. Though it's not too far, we need to hike up to the top, boss," said Mo An. "We can get to the hilltop in 10 minutes at the most." Tang Xiu nodded as an answer and led his men to hike up to the hilltop. On a nearby boulder, he saw 2 old men in black robes with unkempt hair and gray and aged complexions. In their hands were diamond-studded staffs, and their faces were covered by totem tattoos, making them look particularly ghastly and grim. Aside from them, there were also 2 long giant pythons that were over 5 meters long and as thick as a bucket, hissing and slithering around the boulder. The 2 pythons stopped in front of the boulder as Tang Xiu's group approached and stared at them with chilling eyes, seemingly ready to attack at a moment's notice. Chapter 950, Pre-Battle. The two colorful pythons with such intimidating auras made Tang Xiu taken aback inwardly. He was keenly aware of the increasing bulged flesh on their heads, which was apparently a precursor feature of these creatures, before becoming aquatic dragons. Prior to this, Tang Xiu himself had seen the cruel python raised by Ao Wei, yet that creature was far inferior compared to these two pythons in terms of strength and level. It could be said that any of these two creatures would be able to slay 10 cruel pythons easily. What made Tang Xiu surprised, however, was these two black-robed old men themselves, who now sat on the boulder. Their faint power fluctuations made him feel a bit threatened. "What, and who, are you people?" After being silent for 10 seconds, Tang Xiu shouted at them around 20 meters away. Hiss, hiss. The two old men simply didn't pay attention to Tang Xiu at all, or it was more like they ignored his question. They steadfastly sat at their spot, eyes closed and motionless. On the contrary, the two colorful pythons were the ones to move and hiss, seemingly attempting to drive everyone away. "Humph," after coldly snorting, Tang Xiu said in a heavy voice, very arrogant, "Aren't you two geezers? I really hope you do have what it takes to be arrogant here. 9 Dragons Island is my territory. You now have a chance to scram at once, otherwise, you'll lose your chance to leave." At this time, only then did one of them slowly open his eyes. As he lightly stood up, the staff in his hand suddenly radiated with a fluctuation of energy. His eyes, however, did not consist of just black and white, but also blue and gray, giving off a slightly enchanting vibe. "What you said made me laugh, young man. Do you want to know who we are? You're not entitled to know that. You may have many experts here, but getting rid of them is not impossible for us. However, I've heard that one needs to pay with money for anything that they want in the outside world. We didn't bring much cash when we left our clan, but our children will. I can promise you money and you'll leave this island." Tang Xiu slightly frowned and said, "I already told you that 9 Dragons Island is mine. I will never sell it, not even if you offer me a mountain of gold. Tell me, where do you come from?" Answer really pitiful. The black-robed old man sighed, "These ants don't know that death has arrived. The sacred god of the celestial wizard clan once said that low-class people are stupid and stubborn in nature. Only force can tame them. But I didn't expect that even among ants, there would also be someone with the ability to see through the mystery of this island. Nevertheless, this island is bound to be acquired by my clan as there will be many of us coming here later. So right now, you are the ones that need a chance to live, else, it won't be us who'll die, but you instead." This made Tang Xiu's complexion slightly change. He turned to look at Mo An. "The telecom tower has been built here and you can now contact the outside world by phone, correct?" "It's per your order, boss," said Mo An. "The telecommunication tower has been built and it's already operational now, so we can contact the outside world by phone from here." Tang Xiu's heart sank and he said with a grim face, "This 9 Dragons Island is mine and nobody can snatch it from me. You want to rob my territory, and the only path that remains is through slaughter. Nonetheless, I've been worrying about my men as well. Their power may have progressed rapidly, yet they have no enemies to sharpen their skills with and nobody to give them the experience of facing true powerhouses. You said your celestial wizard clan is going to bring them here, huh? Might as well use 9 Dragons Island temporarily as their battlefield." Having said that, he turned to look at Mo Ao and ordered, "Contact Xiao Xue to send all core members, except those who are currently undertaking important missions. The rest are to come here." "Understood." Mo Ao replied and paced backward in strides. Tang Xiu then looked at the black-robed old man again and said, "Old geezers, I give you 3 minutes. If you stubbornly stay after that, then there's no need to waste any more saliva." "No need for those 3 minutes." The old man shook his head and said, "We won't leave. Jin Shi, He Xiong, Shui Sha, Gu Tao, Zhang Ju. The 5 of you kill these 2 wretched animals," coldly shouted Tang Xiu. "Affirmative." The 5 men under Jing Shi's leadership complied as they instantly released their respective flying swords. As they unleashed the sword battle formation in an instant, their 5 figures flashed like shadows and appeared in front of the 2 giant pythons. Whoosh, whoosh. The 2 pythons spewed out 2 blobs of dark smoke. The blobs spread out quickly to shroud a radius of dozens of meters. If it wasn't for the extreme speed that Tang Xiu and his men used to quickly move backward, they would have found themselves shrouded by the black fog. However, Jing Shi's group of 5 didn't retreat and instead released their true essence energy to fend off the black fog from entering their body. Relying on their feeble spiritual sense, they controlled their flying swords to form a twister of sword beams. In just a few seconds, hundreds of slashes had already attacked the 2 pythons. Clang, clang, clang. Yet, the 2 pythons' scales were exceptionally hard. Even the indestructible flying swords were only able to make the serpents wounded. None of them were able to fatally injure the creatures. Moreover, the 2 giant pythons were thoroughly stimulated by the drowning pain and finally revealed their ferociousness. Even though their sharp fangs failed to strike over and over again, their flexible physique made it so that they were able to whip their heads and tails to hit Jing Shi's group. Final strike. With blood dripping from his mouth and a blazing killing intent burning in his eyes, Jing Shi shouted, whereas Xue Sha, He Xiong, Gu Tao, and Zhang Ju followed and tacitly cooperated to unleash the most powerful strike of the sword battle formation. The swords turned into a line, twisting and turning to create a blooming lotus composed of sword beams which instantly dispersed the stirring black fog in the air. A ray of sword beams jetted out of the blooming lotus and gloriously blossomed, while at the same time, they summoned the energy of heaven and earth to swarm over into the sword beam lotus, dramatically increasing its volume. Devour. As Jing Shi's team of 5 roared inwardly at the same time, the lotus flower crashed down toward the 2 giant pythons. In just the blink of an eye, the first sprinting python's head was swallowed by the lotus flower and got devoured, splattering large volumes of blood in a mist. God damn it. The other black-robed old man who was still sitting on the boulder suddenly spewed black smoke from his mouth. His pale complexion turned paler, almost as if his face was devoid of blood, and was followed by his figure floating in the air a moment after. He then raised the gemstone head staff and waved it away, transforming a black dragon from the black smoke which torrentially smashed down at Jing Shi and his team. Guard! Jing Shi cried out. The 5 of them retreated at the same time instantly and shifted their target to the other python the instant it fled. They instantly manipulated their swords to form stacked layers of a sword wall in front of them. Violent energy erupted the moment the black dragon and the sword shield clashed. As the former turned into black smoke, Jing Shi and the rest were thrown backward. At this moment, however, a lightning-like figure flashed among Jing Shi's group. It was Mo who wielded his sword, dashing to impale the black-robed old man's chest. Scram! The black-robed old man furiously roared and unleashed intricate black fog out of thin air that instantly wrapped Mo's limbs. Just as the black fog was going to invade Mo's body, however, Mo unleashed his true essence to prevent it. Standing among the crowd was Tom Reggie. His rough face was showing his extreme shock, while his hands rubbed his own eyes several times, wanting to make sure that he wasn't hallucinating. Such terrifying power, yet it can be possessed by human beings? I know O's strength, he was clearly more powerful than me 6 months ago, yet he's now much stronger than before. How can he be strong to this extent now? Don't tell me, not even 100 of me would be a match to him? With the power he just blasted out, isn't it enough to flatten a small hill? Also, those 2 giant pythons are really dreadful. And those 2 geezers, what power do they have exactly? Why can they unleash such black fog and even turn into the shape of a dragon and tiger to attack? He was well aware of his own strength. It could be regarded as the power of a first-class expert even among foreign mercenaries. Even if he admitted that some experts were better than him, the gap was not wide. Yet, the combat which was unfolding before his eyes finally made him realize what a true powerhouse really meant, making him aware that he was nothing but a frog looking at the sky from the bottom of a well. I must get stronger. Absolutely. Fists clenched tightly and eyes sparkling with a resolute look, Tom Reggie suddenly rejoiced that he chose to submit to Tang Xiu at this moment. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had the chance to witness combat at this level, nor would he have the hope of becoming a true powerhouse in the future. While he was acting determined, next to him stood Long Zhengyu, though his expression was much better and not as shocked as him. However, Long Zhengyu's expression was not much better than him a couple of days ago either. After all, Long Zhengyu was but an average man, he wasn't even a martial arts practitioner. The shock he got was so much that it was nearly impossible to calm down after he saw the dreadful combat between the black-robed old men, and Wolfhead, Mon, and the rest. He also saw all the techniques that were displayed by those 6 teenagers. Had it not been for the protection from the hundreds of members from the Everlasting Feast Hall, he would have been affected and swept out by the battle and died amid the fray. Hence, only then did he realize that the many guards around Tang Xiu's subordinates were a bunch of terrifying existence. The incident also opened his eyes to the fact that bizarre and mysterious things truly existed in the world. At the same time, he secretly made up his mind to wait for Tang Xiu, looking for a chance to talk to him to tell him that he also wanted to enter the cultivation path. Die, you wretched geezer. A yellow paper charm suddenly burned in Mo's palm. It was followed by a blazing heat that spread out in an instant, causing dozens of fire arrows to hit the chest of the black-robed old man at point-blank range.